This original WSRE presentation is made possible by viewers like you. Thank you.
Looking to the skies with astronomer Dr. Wayne Wooten on this edition of Conversations. The year was 1957. The place, the night sky of a Northwest Florida farm. The event, the appearance of a comet. And a stargazer was born. Over 6 decades later, his passion for astronomy still burns bright. Dr. Wayne Wooten is an accomplished astronomer and a longtime professor at Pensacola State College. Beyond educating college students, Wooten has taken his knowledge and insight to the general public. For nearly 40 summers, he has lectured educational sessions at Fort Pickens on Pensacola Beach, work which earned him an award of recognition from the National Park Service. Although Wooten has announced he will retire from day-to-day teaching, he will remain Northwest Florida's resident expert in the field of astronomy. We welcome Dr. Wayne Wooten to Conversations. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jeff.
Pleasure to have you with us.
You.
Great. Tell me about that story. You were 9 years old when you were first intrigued by that comet. Tell me the story.
Okay, we were growing oats and we were combining them, and it was a hot August afternoon, as Neil Diamond would have put it, and we were winding down. We didn't have lights on the tractor, so when it got dark, we would, stop. And I got off the combine and I was going ahead of the pickup truck and dragging together like 4 or 5 bags of oats together so the pickup wouldn't be making as many stops in the field, and we could hasten to getting the stuff in to the barn. And so I was pretty tired. I'd been at it all day, and of course oats are very itchy. When you get oats down your t-shirt, I swear you can wash it 20 times and those oats will still scratch you through Christmas. But I plopped out on the last bag of oats. All the bags were together. The pickup truck was about 3 or 4 sets of bags behind me. And I looked over in the western sky and I saw Comet Marcos, which was probably about as good as Comet Hale-Bopp got back in March and April of 1997. And it was neat in that it was moving through the tail of the Big Dipper. And so it intrigued me that something had suddenly appeared in the sky that was moving among a very visible constellation night by night, that the skies changed. And this intrigued me, that the heavens, they were changing, that there's things to be discovered up there, things to explore, things to learn about. I knew at that point that I was not going to be a farmer, much to the chagrin of my father, who was a great farmer and the person who organized the Choctawhatchee River Soil and Water Conservation Project, and the person who organized the Northwest Florida Co-op in Defuniak Springs.
Okay.
So he wanted me really, really bad to be a farmer, but at that point I was a lost cause. I knew I was going to be an astronomer.
And so you went off to the University of Florida, is that correct?
Yeah. I went to Florida in the summer of 1965 with my friend Rand Baldwin from Paxton High School. We had organized the Walden County Astronomy Club, which later merged with the current Escambia Amateur Astronomers Association. And we were working with the astronomy department at Gainesville that summer as juniors out of high school, learning, basically, I learned how to do radio astronomy from the ground up. They literally gave me a shovel and I dug the trenches in which we laid the cable that connected the radio antennas to the control room in our new radio observatory at Lake Alice, south of Gainesville. And then when I returned as a freshman and throughout my career at the University of Florida, I worked as a student assistant and work study basically. And I manned that control room for many, many hours, literally listening to Radio Jupiter, monitoring Jupiter noise storms. We helped establish the rotation rate of Jupiter's core, that when the moon Io passes in front of Jupiter, it sets up radio outbursts. all kind of new discoveries that were made in Gainesville that led my department head, Dr. Tom Carr, to be appointed the radio mission scientist to the Voyager program. And so I got to watch the launch of Voyager next to the president of Paraguay, not my favorite neo-Nazi dictator, but it was cool to be there in the VIP viewing stands to watch it launch in September '77. And I was there with Carl Sagan, Bruce Murray, Arthur C. Clarke in 1979 to watch the Voyager 1 passage by Jupiter, and I took the first image of the ring around Jupiter with the Voyager 1 data. And then my wife Mary and I were there in November of 1980 to watch the Voyager 1 flyby of Saturn, and that inspired her artwork that would become the When Worlds Erupt show that we developed for the planetarium and went on to become really outstanding space art.
Speaking of that, I have something. You brought me something. I'm going to get James to take a shot of this, and I want you to tell the story. This is, speaking of your wife's artwork, so explain what this is all about.
In 1995, Mary produced a series of oil paintings in cooperation with the planetarium and the Pensacola State College Foundation to depict volcanism around the solar system. And this is the moon of Saturn called Enceladus. Now remember, she's making this painting in 1995. And she is predicting that there will be steam eruptions coming out of the surface on this icy moon. And her painting will be dramatically confirmed 10 years later by the Cassini orbiter. So accurate was her depiction that the head of the Cassini mission, Carolyn Porco, made a comment on NASA's spaceweather.com site that it was an extremely accurate depiction of what we had just photographed, and she painted it 10 years before we would confirm it with Cassini. And the mug that Mary has presented to you is our RIP for Cassini. I'm going to try to get one to Carolyn, by the way, trying to get her mailing address to send it to her. But this is a commemoration of 20 years of exploration of Saturn by NASA's Cassini mission, that it has been up there now exploring the heavens, and in September it will crash into the atmosphere of Saturn, in part to be sure that it doesn't contaminate the Enceladians, because Enceladus is now considered, along with Jupiter's moon Europa, a very likely candidate for at least marine life in the saltwater oceans that lie just beneath that thin film of ice. So we are thinking these may be other places in the solar system that we're going to be finding at least marine life, microbes, European whales, Enceladian jellyfish. Stay tuned.
That's interesting, and that was one of the questions I was going to ask you. Do you think there's life outside of the Earth?
Well, right now Curiosity is finding a lot of really, really interesting sedimentary rocks in Gale Crater on Mars. And we haven't found a trilobite fossil yet, but the chemistry that we're investigating in these old sedimentary rocks is basically a brackish water environment, muds, and we don't, I believe, have with Curiosity enough magnification on its microscope to actually see microscopic fossils. But I wouldn't be at all surprised if higher tech explorers will confirm that there were Martians, and just beneath the surface that they may still be Martians.
Interesting.
Yeah, microbes, probably not anything as advanced as Ray Bradbury's Martian Chronicles, but yes, I think there probably was and may still be life on Mars.
Which planet most intrigues you personally?
Oh, I love all of them. Mars, particularly when it gets close. A year from now, Mars will be making a very close approach to the Earth, the closest it's been since 2003. So we'll have telescopes set up all over the place to give people good views of Mars at its biggest and best and brightest in the summer of 2018. Jupiter, we're going to be looking at Jupiter tomorrow night. The Great Red Spot is really red right now, very photogenic. One of my students took a photo of the Great Red Spot with her smartphone recently that showed up very nicely. And our astronomy club editor, Nicole Gunter, is going to be trying to feature some of the student photographs that have been taken recently with smartphones in our club publication, The Meteor. So Saturn's just gorgeous now. Saturn is at its very best right now. The rings are tilted 27 degrees open. They more than double the brightness of the planet compared to when they're edge on and vanish back in 2010. So if you come out to our pavilion or our Pensacola Beach stargazes or Fort Pickens stargazes, or for that matter even our stargazes at Big Lagoon State Park, then you'll have a wonderful chance this summer to photograph both Jupiter and Saturn. Mars right now is totally on the other side of the sun, lost in the sun's glare. Wait a year, Mars will be excellent in the summer of 2018.
Where do we stand with Pluto? Because there was a thing that Pluto was a planet and not a planet and is a planet. So is it a planet? Where are we?
Well, it is the most active geological planet after the Earth and the moon of Jupiter, Io. There's more going on geologically in terms of volcanism, as one of Mary's paintings correctly predicted, at Pluto. We didn't get there, of course, till 2015. Right. So Mary's painting was predicting that there were going to be these eruptions on the surface of Pluto, which we've now photographed with the New Horizons mission 20 years before they turned out to be confirmed by New Horizons. And so there's a lot of really interesting geology going on Pluto. I think it's going to be definitely debatable as to where you're making this demarcation line between dwarf planets and regular planets. These objects out there in the Kuiper Belt, there's stuff going on that makes them really, really fascinating places to be studying. And there's the prediction that very shortly we will find Planet 9, not Pluto, but a much more massive object, maybe 4 to 5 times further out than Pluto, a good bit more massive than the Earth, perhaps comparable to Neptune. And then, of course, it's really going to open up the whole issue of what is and isn't a planet. I mean, there's nobody but nobody, not even Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's going to be suggesting excluding this body from the club. Right. So I personally, and my wife Mary certainly agrees with me, we'd go ahead and put Pluto back in the planet club, but then you also have to add Eris, which is another object out in the Kuiper Belt that's bigger and better behaved than Pluto. So you can no longer have 9 planets. If you want to keep Pluto, that's fine, but Eris has every bit as much right to be in the planet club as Pluto does. So you're going to have to expand it up to 10, and of course then the question becomes, okay, what about all the other smaller Kuiper Belt objects that are also round? Do they qualify as planets or not? It's going to be a very interesting can of worms.
Talk to me about the technology that's available right now that astronomers are able to use and as they study the universe.
Okay, this one is something you were wanting some kind of a historical perspective, and I'm the one to give it to you. Because when I got started in astronomy, basically there was only optical astronomy. If we didn't see it, we didn't believe in it. And then, of course, as I mentioned a few moments ago, I helped in my growing up years pioneer radio astronomy. We developed it at the University of Florida in the 60s and 70s. So we started filling in the low base notes, the long wavelengths of the cosmic spectrum. I like to consider sight and sound in sight, we see over a tiny portion of all the electromagnetic waves, from 400 to 700 nanometers, which on your piano keyboard mean you can only hear 6 notes. C, D, E, F, G, A. I flunked choir. But you get the idea. 3/4 of an octave is all we see. But there's all this other cosmic concert out there for us to listen to, and you're right, we have to develop the technology to do it. So in the 50s and 60s, we developed radio astronomy. In the 70s, with satellite observatories, we started tuning in on the ultraviolet spectrum, the alto notes. In the early 80s, we were studying the X-rays, the gamma rays, the soprano section of the concert. In 1983, we launched the IRIS. In fact, my friend from Paxton, Rand Baldwin, was one of the people at Huntsville who helped develop the infrared technology for the IRIS satellite. So hats off to you, Rand, for your work with NASA and space exploration up there at Huntsville. We Gator guys did pretty good.
You did.
Yeah, and Rand, by the way, is one of the members of the astronomy club down here, as well as a member of the Huntsville Amateur Astronomy Club. So we've stayed in touch. And then, and that would be the alto notes, the tenor notes of the cosmic concert. And it wasn't until my present students were born in the early 1990s that we finally orbited COBE, the cosmic observer of the background emission, which tunes in on the microwaves. And that would be equivalent to the baritone notes of the cosmic concert. So basically, in the time that my students were first born, typically they're in their 20s now, the ones who are taking my class this term, then that's for the first time that humanity could say, all right, I can hear the whole symphony.
Right.
We have access to all of these kinds of energies that the heavens are bombarding us with.
Tell me about the eclipse coming up in August. This is a big deal, right?
Oh, yeah. The last total eclipse that touched the continental United States was February the 26th, 1979. Very interestingly, one of my former students, Cheryl Williams, was an observer of that eclipse in 1979 and is planning to take her son Mark up to Kentucky to see this eclipse in August the 21st of this year. So clear skies to you, Cheryl. I hope you get a beautiful view, and I want to see the pictures. With my Parkinson's, I'm not going to be able to travel. Mary and I will be here at the planetarium setting up telescopes, showing people the 82% coverage that we'll get here in Pensacola. It'll start locally about noon. The maximum coverage will be 82% partial at 1:37 on Monday afternoon, August the 21st, and then at 3:03 it's all over. The moon will move off the sun's disk, so we'll have right at 3 hours of partial coverage, and we will be set up outside the planetarium, clear skies permitting, to let local people come by, use their smartphones to take photographs of the partially eclipsed sun. And we have many club members like Cheryl and like Nicole Gutter that are planning to be going up to the center line, about a 9 or 10 hour drive typically, to get up to the center line, and hopefully, with clear skies permitting, come back with beautiful photos of the corona and the prominences and all that kind of really good stuff. I have personally been blessed to see 2 totalities, the 2 longest ones of the 20th century. I was there in the middle of the Atlantic with Arthur C. Clarke on June the 30th, 1973, 1,500 miles east of Trinidad on the Cunard Adventurer to see that totality, and I came back with beautiful photos. By the way, the photos I took on the Adventurer, they're on that star shooting disc that I got for you.
Okay, wonderful.
So you'll actually see the photos that I took there. And then I was about 60 miles south of Mazatlan on the Mexican Riviera on July the 11th, 1991, to see the very longest totality, 7 minutes and 2 seconds for us there, about 60 miles south of Mazatlan in Mexico. And that video, by the way, is up on the internet on YouTube, and we'll be glad to give you the link if you want to see my half-hour video production of the 1991 eclipse. Some of you might remember the last really good eclipse locally was May 30th, 1984. That one gave us almost a total eclipse. My wife Mary took a beautiful photograph of broken annularity at 11:13 a.m. in Camden, Alabama, about 100 miles north of here. Her photograph, I think, is one of the most spectacular images of any kind of eclipse ever taken. And you can see this ring of red fire around the sun, broken in many places by the highest mountains on the moon protruding through the sun's limb, and only through the deepest valleys does a little bit of the red chromosphere still reach the earth in that very dramatic photo that she took. It was on the cover of the Reflector magazine, published by the Astronomical League.
Fascinating stuff. When you announced your retirement, for example, there was an article in the Pensacola News Journal online, and I read some of the comments and saw some other comments, and it was just, people just had wonderful things to say about you. I think you have just enlightened so many people and created a passion in so many people to study astronomy. And I know you've been Teacher of the Year at Pensacola State College and Teacher of the Year at the University of West Florida. What's your secret to instilling that passion in students?
Be interested in what you're teaching. Know that things change. Keep current on the discoveries. Like, for instance, today in class with my students, I assigned them 2 extra credit articles, one on the detection of gravitational waves from 2 black holes coalescing, and another one on a mysterious fast radio burst that comes from God only knows where in the universe through a mechanism we still don't know about. Be open to new discoveries. This is the way that science works. There is no ultimate Bible in science. There is no final authority. Neil deGrasse Tyson, Carl Sagan, well, my wife already disagrees with Neil on Pluto. We know about that. But anyway, you know, it's a constantly changing field. So I assign extra credit articles that deal with brand new discoveries that show the way that the science changes and is constantly challenging us to keep looking up. In August of 1975, I was taking photos of the northern Milky Way, and I happened to look just north of the bright star Deneb, and there was a star that shouldn't be there. And it wasn't an Earth satellite. It wasn't moving the way the International Space Station orbits overhead. Wasn't any planet. None of you were born on the birth sign of Cygnus. In the summer sky, the planets are down south in Scorpius or Sagittarius, where you can find Jupiter and Saturn and so forth. So I realized that I had discovered something really special, a nova, an exploding star. And they didn't have emails back then, so I sent a telegraph, the only telegraph I've ever sent in my life, to the International Astronomical Union's Brian Marsden, reporting a new nova in Cygnus, estimated magnitude 2.8 and rising. And I therefore became the first person on this side of the Atlantic to report what turned out to be the brightest stellar explosion of my lifetime. And I knew that because I knew the heavens like the back of my hand. I could look up and say, you're not supposed to be there. Who in the Sam Hill are you? Let me get out my binoculars, look at you up close. If you're fuzzy, maybe I found a comet. Marshall Holman and I did find a comet, but we were number 4 in the hit parade, and it's only the first 3 discoverers of the comet that get it named after them, so there wasn't any comet Holman, Wooten, alas, but we still could say, well, at least we knew enough to know when we saw it that it shouldn't be there and that we had discovered a comet. So that was sort of cool.
I have about 2 minutes left. If folks want to participate in what you're doing at Fort Pickens or the planetarium, how do they go about doing so?
You can join us on Facebook. Escambia Amateur Astronomers Association has over 100 members, and we welcome new members. We'll be glad to get you in contact with us. We have all kind of resources on our Facebook page. Our star shooting gallery is up there on the Facebook page. Our astrophoto galleries. You ought to see what people are taking now with our new fast digital cameras. We've got pictures that members took of auroras that went up to Iceland and to the Yukon. And we're all over the world. Malone Calvert went to Australia and came back with pictures of the Magellanic Clouds last August. So keep looking up.
It's just a lot of fascinating things out there.
It's surely been quite a ride. Thank you, Jeff.
It has been. Congratulations on a super successful career, and you're very well respected in the science community in Northwest Florida and throughout. So we wish you all the very best, and I know we'll continue to hear from you in one manner or another. You're just retiring from day-to-day teaching. Yes,
I do plan to serve as a volunteer in the planetarium, and so we'll be working with the Astronomy Club. We have a new replacement, Lauren Rogers, who will be starting in a few weeks to get ready for the future. I'm so glad that we have her aboard. She's going to do a lot to promote astronomy for everybody, not just men, but women and all kind of students get involved. You know, girls, you can get over your fear of mathematics. If Lauren can do it, you can calculate the square root of whatever and so forth. So she's going to be encouraging these people to get involved in science as a career. Some of my own students have worked with NASA and with Mount Hopkins. Scott Godley operates the third largest telescope in America. Dr. Tony Phillips runs the spaceweather.com site and is the origin of the Raj character on Big Bang Theory. He's a solar physicist at Jet Propulsion Laboratory. And he's from Niceville, so shout out to Tony and his accomplishments. I'm so proud of him.
Thank you so very much. Best of luck to you.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Wayne Wooten, and a very special thanks to his wife, Mary, for the wonderful mug and wonderful artwork. This will get a lot of use, I promise you. I'm a big coffee drinker. By the way, you can see more of our conversations online at WSRE.org/conversations. We're also on YouTube and Facebook. I'm Jeff Weeks. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the broadcast. Take wonderful care of yourself. We'll see you soon.
Support for this program is provided in part by Gulf Power, a Southern company, and by viewers like you. Thank you.